From the notorious giving zero Fs about influencer boxing, to the athlete aiming to become a 3-division UFC champion, here's why Conor McGregor will never fight Jake Paul. Yeah, the Irishman couldn't care less about stepping into the ring with Paul. That's one man down on the YouTuber's opponent list. Paul isn't letting any opportunities to call out on the MMA star slip away, and Mystic Mac, on the other hand, couldn't care less. It all started out when Sidemen member KSI tweeted about destroying Dylan Dennis ahead of their fight in January 2023. He said he'd do some real damage to the MMA star. Of course, the fight didn't happen because Dennis dropped out at the last minute, but the tweet stirred up a lot of controversy on the social media platform. Conor responded to the Brit's comment and said he couldn't care less about influencer boxing, which is becoming the next hot thing in the fight world. The Notorious said he'd like to see Dennis return to MMA because that's where the big kids fight. Even though the Irishman said he hated the new wave of influencer boxing, he sparked some interest by asking one fan if belts were involved. You know how much the double champion loves belts. This is where Paul stepped into the drama. The YouTuber turned boxer pointed out the fact that the Irishman hadn't fought for a belt since 2016, and that he lost 3 of his last 4 fights. Conor set the record straight by saying he would never fight a YouTuber. Yeah, that's what they call Paul in the MMA world. Fighters only consider him a real boxer. I mean, the man's kind of topping the influencer boxing game, so you'd expect him to give him a little more respect, right? The problem child has taken down his fair share of MMA stars. You've got to give him credit where it's due. Jake's currently all that in the boxing world. I mean, he's getting PPVs like no other. The influencer boxer has an impressive record against retired MMA stars. That's probably why he thinks he can take down McGregor in the ring. Jake has stepped into the ring with former welterweight champion Ben Askren and won via a first-round knockout. The former Disney star also went against Tyron Woodley twice, and guess what? He was victorious both times. So when it comes to taking down MMA stars in the ring, Jake sure knows a thing or two. Let's not forget the time he knocked down Anderson Silva. Yeah, that was nothing but impressive. So, if you were to face McGregor in the ring, he'd stand a chance against him, right? Well, I wouldn't be too sure about it. I mean, look at it this way. All these MMA fighters Paul took down were retired and way past their prime. McGregor, on the other hand, isn't someone to take lightly. Yeah, he's been away from fighting for 2 years, but from the looks of it, he's more ready than ever to get back in the game. Speaking of which, Conor's got big plans for MMA, so he doesn't really have time to fight Paul. Do you really think the Irishman would want to make his comeback by fighting a YouTuber? We're talking about a UFC legend here. Yeah, there's no denying that McGregor is one of the best MMA fighters out there. He's been off the octagon for nearly 2 years. That's all thanks to the almost career-ending leg injury he got at the hands of Dustin Poirier in July 2011. But looks like it's all healed now, and the Irishman had an epic body transformation and everything. The athlete made his return to the UFC as a coach on The Ultimate Fighter, and he's set to lock horns with Michael Chandler, who's also a coach on the reality TV show. Fans can expect to see the highly anticipated bout in the final quarter of 2023. It's definitely going to be a big one. UFC fans from all over the world have been waiting for the Irishman's comeback, and Chandler has been begging to fight the Notorious since his Bellator days. So I guess everyone's getting what they wanted, except for Paul. Yeah, he's been dying to get this matchup. The problem child wanted to get his hands on McGregor in both the ring and the cage. I'm talking about boxing and MMA back-to-back. Paul was shooting for the stars with this one, wasn't he? He said on his Brothers Impulsive podcast, "Guess what, Conor? I'd beat the out of you, and you can't box as good as me." Now, challenging the Irishman for boxing is one thing. I get why you think he could take him down after knocking out Askren and Woodley. But calling him out for an MMA fight? I don't think Paul was in his right mind when he said it. He's not even made a debut in MMA, and he already wants to face McGregor in the octagon? Come on, you've gotta be kidding me. Good thing McGregor isn't interested in this offer at all. The Irishman believes the content creator is a flop and a nobody. These are Conor's words, not mine. He's trying to make it very clear that fighting with Jake isn't on his cards, but the younger Paul brother can't seem to get the hint. He thinks a fight between these two is just a matter of time. Whatever helps him sleep at night, I guess. Paul told the MMA Hour that he has to take down a couple of big names, and McGregor needs to get active for the fight to happen. He's fighting Nate Diaz on August 5th, 2023, so he's ready to add another win to his resume. Let's hope he wins this one, because 2 losses in a row would put a dent in his record. I mean, he's fresh off a loss to pro boxer Tommy Fury. The Bizarre Vark star sees the fight, and it's not too far away in the future. Want to know why? Because this bout will bring them both big bucks. I'll let the money do the talking, because it's an easy $75 million to $100 million for both of them. Plus, you know how much McGregor loves dollar bills. But he's not desperate enough to fight Paul for a few million bucks. McGregor is one of the highest paid athletes in the world. He can choose to never fight again and go on with his extravagant lifestyle to the fullest. The Irishman isn't only a fighter, he's a businessman, and he's got a lot of ventures outside of the UFC. The athlete founded a whiskey brand called Proper 12, and he sold his majority share for a whopping $600 million. So he really doesn't need to make money fighting Paul. The YouTubers got hope in all the wrong places. Now, don't get me wrong, Paul and McGregor are both big names in the fighting world, but this matchup still wouldn't make any sense. Take it from fans who think it'll be nothing more than a clown show. Hear me out. Conor McGregor is one of the hardest hitters in the fight world. These are not my words. The man himself, Khabib Nurmagomedov, said it. Paul hits hard too, but his power isn't close to the Irishman's. He's only ever been defeated by submission, so no man has ever put him to sleep in the octagon. If this matchup somehow does see the light of day, fans will be paying to watch Conor play around with Jake in the ring. Trust me, I don't think anyone's going to be interested in that. The only hype this fight will get will be because of Paul and McGregor's fame. If you look on paper though, the fight doesn't make sense. Fans have often called out Paul for his crazy obsession with MMA stars. When is he gonna go for pro boxers? He did fight Tommy Fury and lost, so he's back to the retired fighters who never boxed professionally. Conor has had the career of his lifetime, from holding 2 UFC titles at the same time to knocking out opponents in the cage like no other. He's made quite a legacy for himself, and in all fairness, I don't see room for fighting influencer boxers. That's only going to throw him off his bigger purpose. McGregor wants to become a 3-division UFC champion, and he wants to be the first one to do it. Conor was the first person in UFC history to hold titles in 2 divisions, and he's only aiming higher. After getting him some good lightweight and featherweight championships, he's going for the welterweight gold. The athlete has had a crazy transformation to fit the weight class, and he's set to make his return in this division. So a shot at becoming a 3-division champion isn't a stretch. It's actually in the cards for him. He needs to make sure he makes a hell of a comeback and doesn't lose time on influencer boxing and whatnot. So, from the notorious aiming to become a 3-division UFC champion, to him giving 0 Fs about influencer boxing, this was why Conor McGregor will never fight Jake Paul